Let's get more on Nvidia. We're joined now by Francisco Bido, Senior Portfolio Manager at FM Investments. Francisco, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Morning.
What was one thing that jumped out for you with this Nvidia report? Were there any surprises, for example?
No, not really. If anything, it was a very strong report. Definitely met my expectations, and I was pleased to see that it did quite well even without China. You know, China was the big concern last quarter. There were a lot of questions about China and the uncertainty environment, the regulatory framework, and so on. And look, they went ahead and beat both at the top and the bottom. True that it's not necessarily anything to write home about, but it's great.
The revenue forecast seen as a lackluster. What do you think? I mean, this company is still growing exponentially.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're being conservative on that side. They're not accounting for H20 sales to China.
Okay.
And that would be a big deal. That can come anywhere between $2 and $5 billion. So, and that's also on the conservative side. So it's a little bit of a sandbaggy situation there. They're just being guarded.
You're just looking at the valuation. So you reckon that the price earnings ratio, the price earnings ratio to growth is 1.3, and that's not too bad. I mean, so the the growth in this company is pretty close to the price earnings ratio.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I believe it's a great opportunity for long-term investments. Short-term investors, you know, they tend to be a little bit more speculative. That's a whole different matter and not my area of expertise. But if you're a long-term investor, then Nvidia remains a great buy with a PEG ratio of 1.3. So you take your PE and you adjust it for the growth rate, and that's what you get. And it's quite reasonable, even versus itself.
They've got this new Blackwell Ultra chip, and you think it'll keep Nvidia on present form in the lead for years to come?
That's correct. You know, there's a lot to be said about a company who's already in the lead with a market share with GPUs at around 85%. AMD comes in second, but if you're that 600-pound gorilla and you still manage to come out with a, you know, with a future chip and it's yours, that's absolutely fantastic. So I think they have even more room to grow in the future. So they look solid going forward.
I know we're getting into the realms of speculation here, but as you know, software has advanced so much that on a given bit of hardware, you can do more and more over the past few decades. Is that not a threat to Nvidia, that the AI designers will be able to run these programs on less and less hardware?
Well, there will be a challenge to NVIDIA management. They will have to address the evolving market to see what new opportunities arise, and you know, under those circumstances. But for now, at least for the next 5 years, I see the AI revolution as a sort of an arms race. The bigger the chip, the better, and the more intelligent it is, the better. And you know, when it comes to, for example, market intelligence, you can never be smart enough. So you always want the greatest and the best, always.
And it is interesting as well, Nvidia, they don't just pack up chips and bubble wrap and ship them out. They sell entire systems, including software.
Yes, their CUDA system is something to behold. It allows for simulations and basically creates a community around their products, a development community that just keeps growing and expanding. And once you got that locked in, you get to have a big say in what the industry standards are going forward. So that's where they stand right now. It's pretty solid.
I wonder, though, the giant hyperscalers, Meta and Amazon, they must be looking askance at the power of this company.
Yeah, to a point. I mean, there's always room for partnerships. You know, it's not necessarily a competitor. It's more, how can we partner to even get better market positioning than we currently have? So if Meta wants to do their chips, you know, that's great. We'll see where that leads. I trust that, you know, when that kind of vertical integration doesn't have a good track record, in my view, I like to see a lot of sources for chips and so on. So I think NVIDIA will continue to be one of them.
It's interesting. Jensen Huang, the CEO, talking about his customers, says, the more you buy, the more you grow. I have to admit, I was fooling around this morning. I got Grok, Elon Musk's AI, to describe earnings from our own Royal Bank of Canada as though it were the creature from the Alien movie. And I was pretty impressed with the result. It was super creative and quite funny.
Yes, indeed. I mean, there is a lot of room to be creative and, use all kinds of humors on these things. But the AI revolution is here to stay. If you snooze, you lose. So I agree with Jensen. That the opportunities are there going forward. And with Nvidia being the backbone of the whole revolution, I think they're in the strongest position that anybody is. So it's solid.
Reuters quotes Jensen Huang as saying today that if a data center cost as much as 60 billion, well, that's a massive installation, Nvidia can capture about 35 billion. So they're not just providing one component of the thing, they're providing most of it by the CEO's estimation.
That's exactly right. And again, it's just they have a very, very privileged market position with the market share and the great products. So they were in the right place at the right time, making GPUs for games, for gamers and so on.
Yeah.
And look what happened. I mean, it's fantastic. Good for them.
Yeah. Vision is obviously so complicated, and the graphics chips, they had such enormous requirements that it led to this prowess for NVIDIA. Apparently, our brain uses enormous amounts of circuitry seeing things and processing the images, so it's not easy. Leave us with a final thought, though. We know that other companies are working on devices, but you think NVIDIA's lead, just to reiterate, you think it's intact for now?
I agree with that statement. It will take the market to evolve in a very different direction. As you said, perhaps reaching some degree of complacency with the amount of the intelligence it already has, and maybe not willing to spend that much. But I don't see that happening within the next 5 years.
Francisco, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Francisco Bido, Senior Portfolio Manager at FM Investment.